Welcome to the CraftsWombman channel.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, that's great. Welcome to this womb wellness call tonight and this evening. We are so excited that we have this very special guest on the line, Sister Angelique Jefferson. So, Sister Angelique is a sacred holistic fertility conception who holds sacred space for women who struggle in silence with fertility issues. She's often referred to as the womb whisperer. She intuitively guides women through a mind, body, and spirit connection to uncover and clear emotional trauma that prevents conception. She supports women in transforming their relationships with fertility by leading them to inherit maternal powers. Heeding to the whispers of the womb, women optimize their reproductive health and welcome new life into their bodies. Angelique has over 5 years of experience in natural birth therapy, holistic spirit, mind, and body connection for natural conception, and is studying ancient Eastern techniques and herbalism for healthy pregnancy. You can find Angelique at www.lotusmamalove.com and on Facebook, Instagram, and Periscope as Angelique Jefferson. So I want to thank you so much for calling, and I'm so thankful for the work that you do. Besides fibroids, fertility is the main concern that I get. I'm CraftsWombman. I'm a doula, a certified holistic doula, a certified yoni steam practitioner, licensed nail technician, womb wellness consultant, certified womb yoga instructor. And I work with women. My main thing is childbirth, but within birth, we have all these other issues that surround it. So, Angelique, I just want to ask you, how did you get started on this path?
Oh, well, I want to thank you, first of all, for having me on the call, and I'm honored to be here. Well, my journey started a while ago. Back when I was 15, I had lots of issues, reproductive issues, from fibroids to PCOS, and I even I was diagnosed, I think, at 21 with uterine cancer. So,
did you say uterine cancer? The phone broke
yes,
up?
Ma'am.
Oh,
yes,
wow.
ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I got pregnant around 24 when I got pregnant with my first child, and I had a miscarriage. And that was typical. When I went to the doctor, I asked him, what happened? Why did I have a miscarriage? And his response was, well, it's normal. A lot of women have miscarriages during their first time. You get pregnant again, and just brushed it off. And for me, growing up in a society where we trust doctors, we believe what they say, and we just take their word for it and just move forward, there was something inside of me that said, no, I need more answers. So I prayed, and I asked for an opportunity to do it all over again and to carry my child for full term. So I speeded up to about a month later. My mother introduced me to someone who introduced me to holistic wellness. And I changed my diet. I changed my thoughts, the things that I was thinking about myself, the limiting beliefs that my body was broken. I would probably never carry a child again. And, I had to change those things. So speed it up 42 plus weeks later, I gave birth naturally to my son. And that whole experience opened me up to a whole new world, from just knowing that we can call forth what it is that we desire, number one, and when you actually do the work and you have that conscious intent, you will conceive. So from that point, I started working with women, helping them give birth naturally, because there wasn't a lot of information out there at that time. So I was sharing that information with women, letting them know, this is how you prepare yourself for natural birth. And then I began to realize that even the preparation starts prior to conception. Mm-hmm. There's so much that works against us when we are in that moment of labor, when we're in that moment of bringing our child forth. Illnesses. This is a whole array of things. So anyway, that's how I started. That's where my journey began. And when I began working with women to help them give birth naturally, I realized that I had to work with women prior to conception for them to actually prepare for that journey. Because It's a very intense, I'm sure you know, it's an intense passageway. And I think it's vital that we begin to implement this in our life. And this is a new norm for us to prepare for conception. That's how.
Okay, and so how exactly, like, if let's just say, if I was a client and I had reoccurring miscarriages, like how is your work set up? Like, how do you work with a woman who's had reoccurring miscarriages?
Okay. I have before, and what we do, well, like every woman's different, but in this scenario, a woman who has had reoccurring miscarriages, first we'll sit down and I kind of just ask general questions about history, the food and things like that. And from there, we kind of go into the first time she was sexually active, her first, and then not just consensual, but just her first experience with connection with a man or even a woman. A lot of times it's really, I can pick up intuitively after communicating with a woman what's being held back or what she's holding on to. And we kind of go from there. So, for example, there was, and this I was given permission to give a testimonial so I can speak on her story. But there was one particular woman who had dealt with several miscarriages. Actually, she had 3 of them. And she has not been diagnosed with any type of reproductive issue. So she's, constantly trying to figure out what's wrong, what's going on with me. And going back to her, when she was in high school, she had an abortion. Her parents encouraged her to get an abortion. And what that did for her was, she carried a lot of guilt. She carried a lot of shame and embarrassment around that. And that, as you know, emotions and feelings and things, they create blockages. It's like an energetic blockage. And that can manifest as a physical blockage. So, we tapped into that, and we were able to retrieve that hurt, that pain, go there and reverse that, and, shift her mindset about herself, because now at this point, now that she's married, she's not a child anymore. She's a grown woman, and she's wanting to give her husband a family. The only problem is she feels as though she's being punished. She feels guilty. She feels as though she had an opportunity to conceive, and now she messed it up. So holding on to the guilt is what kept her from conceiving. Now she's in a place where she's ready to transition to getting her diet intact, because it's, like you mentioned, it's a holistic foundation. You can't have one without the other. You can't just treat one without treating the mental blockages or not dealing with the emotional blockages or food blockages. So from that point, when we begin to work with the spirit, work with the mind, and shifting your beliefs about how you feel about your body, changing that whole story. We hold on to these stories that are from the past, and every time we bring them to we recall them, we remember them, we basically refigure the pain within our body. Mm-hmm. So that triggers that emotion in the body, and that triggers an impulse, a nerve impulse within the body, and in the woman, it creates the blockage. So now that we've shifted, did the mindset stuff, and that's an ongoing work. It's not just a one-time thing, but it's ongoing work, changing the mind through affirmations, through mantras, through forgiveness. Then we deal with the food and how that affects pregnancy, because, we're not dealing with the food that our great-grandparents used to eat. A lot of the stuff that we consume, as you know, have so many toxins and chemicals in it that prevents conception, that disrupts the endocrine system, which throws off our hormonal balance. And, I want to rewind a bit, because even before we get to the whole mindset thing, mm-hmm. we have to get to the heart of the foundation, which is the spiritual foundation. Mm-hmm. And there we work toward helping her connect to her body again, or reconnect to her body, so that if there's a pain, a discomfort, even a tug, a slight shift in her emotion, she's aware of it. See, the issue with fertility and how we've manifested these diseases in our body is because we've become so disconnected from ourselves. And the disconnect could have happened if there was molestation, or even if it wasn't molestation, if you were abandoned or felt there's so many different things that can trigger. It could be the smallest thing that can happen in childhood, mm-hmm. or even ancestral lineage, that can trigger something within you that can create a blockage or a habit where you begin to do things that undermine you, or begin to ignore your body and the signs and the symptoms. And I always say the first whispers that we hear, or the screams that we hear from our bodies, the silent screams that we hear from our bodies as young ladies, is the evidence of cramps, the evidence of long cycles beyond 3 days, beyond 5, lasting up to 7 to 10 days. Mm-hmm. The odors that we mask, the chronic yeast infections, and all of these things. So before we even work towards the mind, before we even get to changing the dietary lifestyle, we work on connecting spiritually. So what does that look like? I don't like to use the word meditation, because meditation scares me. When I think of meditation, my mind just gets a little crazy. But we get to a place where we're connecting, mm-hmm. Sitting still and connecting with the heartbeat. where you begin to feel your heartbeat, and you can take your consciousness, put into your heartbeat, and then send that heartbeat to your womb. And it's just different practices. It kind of depends on what the sister's experiencing. But we begin to activate her awareness, so she's in tune with her body. So she knows, like, it feels like my cycle is coming. Versus in the prior two, she didn't know. So we work from the spirits, and we work on shifting the mind, so reprogramming the mind and the beliefs, and, uprooting the disagreeable belief system, the disagreeable habits, and implanting that which she desires, her desirable outcome. And then from there we work towards changing the food and the diet to a more healthier diet that is void of anything that can cause reproductive ailments.
Okay, so you said you had cervical, or was it uterine cancer?
It was uterine cancer. No, actually, you're right. It was cervical cancer. I had uterine fibroids, cervical cancer, and PCOS.
Okay, and how did you eliminate those?
Oh, it was through, I would definitely say, number one, it was through the diet, because I was diagnosed with those when I was 15. And when I found out that I was, when I had the first miscarriage, I didn't change my lifestyle. It wasn't until I got pregnant the second time with my now 5-year-old son. I got pregnant the second time, and I was scared. I'm like, what am I going to do? I prayed.
So you still had these diagnoses, like, on you when you conceived?
When I conceived, yes. So when I connected with the sister, because I knew I was pregnant within like 3 days. I took the test, I think, within that first week. So when I had a consultation, and she basically gave me the tools, said, you need to cleanse. You need to clean out. And I'm like, well, is it safe? Will I have another miscarriage? So that was then when I did a cleanse. What did I do? I took an internal cleansing clay. When I rose in the morning.
Like bentonite clay or red clay?
Yeah, it's a red clay and a bentonite clay mixture. And I still take it to this day. But I got up early in the morning, did a bentonite clay and the red clay mixture. And following that, I had some warm lime water, and then I had some colon cleansing herbs to help open up my bowels to get the waste out of my body. And while I was drinking my tea, during my tea time, I would say my affirmations in between times. I would say my reaffirming affirmations and my mantra that will help reprogram your cells. And then I would do an enema to also help open up the elimination system because, after 20 years of eating pork, beef, fish, everything, I ate everything under the sun. And, really wanting to carry this baby full term and not miscarry, I was radical. So I did what I needed to do. I ate the fruit, the vegetables, smoothies. When I did break my fast, I began to just eat the smoothies, and then my superfoods, the moringa, baobab powder, maca root, drank lots of red raspberry tea, and what else? It was blessed thistle, red raspberry tea, nettle, and just stayed on that regime for, I think, the first 21 days. And then I started eating the starchy stuff. And when I began to eat the starchy stuff, I had a lot of mucus, but I would increase my water intake. So I was kind of going back and forth, but I was strict on my diet, on my regimen, eliminating the meat, the dairy, and the egg. So I think I went back to the doctor for a checkup after I gave birth. And I didn't tell the doctor that I had a history because I was living in a different state. And they asked for your records and, had to fill out, what's your medical history. I didn't tell them that I had a history of cervical cancer, fibroids, or anything. When I took the test, because they did a PAP, did they do a PAP before? No, I think it was a couple months after I had my son. And they do, a PAP test and a checkup, and it was all negative. It was negative. And I think when my son was about 2, I had started back eating dairy. Was he 2? No. He was 6 months. I'm getting the timeline wrong. He was 6 months, and I didn't start eating dairy consistently, but I had some Alfredo, and I had it consistently for about a week. And I began to get these lumps on my breast, these cysts in my breast. So I called my godmother, and I said, I have some lumps on my breast, so what are you eating? And I'm like, well, I've been eating bread, I've been eating starch pasta, and Alfredo. So we'll stop eating that stuff, clean out. And I will also say that my son began to have evidence of cradle cap and eczema on his skin because I was also breastfeeding him exclusively. So everything that I ate, it showed up through his skin and it showed up through his mood. So I stopped eating. I cut out the dairy. The lumps and the cysts went away. I would massage my breast with castor oil every night. And
even though you were breastfeeding?
Yep. Sure was. I even did a detox while I was breastfeeding. And I will also mention that I did a detox, I think he was about 1. And it was a 21-day detox with herbal teas, blood cleansing teas, parasitic herbs. And I know that a lot of medical practitioners are against it because they say you pass a parasite to your child. But I would say that if you're consuming this stuff anyway, you're still passing these toxins to your child. You know what I'm saying? So that's my logic. I'm not recommending or suggesting. I'm just saying this is what I do. But I'm just using what my logic is. If I'm passing them poison, then I can pass him the herbs so he can clean out. And I have evidence that this child who has never been fed meat directly or dairy directly, he passed parasites through his bowel. So, you know.
So he was cleansing while you were cleansing?
Yes.
And how long did you breastfeed?
I breastfed for 3 years.
Oh, wow. Go ahead.
Yeah, I breastfed for about 3 years. I think 2 weeks shy of his 3rd birthday, I weaned him off, and that was that. He may have, you know, tried to get some milk a couple days after that, and I was like, no, we're done. But in between time, I would supplement. I breastfed exclusively for 2 years. And then after that, I would supplement with sea moss, avocados, you know, pears, apples, things like that.
When you say exclusively, does that mean that you didn't give him any table food?
No solids. No solids.
Okay.
No solids. One of my elders suggested that when a baby has all of their teeth, that's the evidence that they have the digestive enzyme, you know, to break down the food. So, I kind of went with that. The only reason why I implemented the food was because I was ready to stop breastfeeding. I was, you know, really tired, you know, so, but if I could have held up, if I were to do it again, I probably would exclusively breastfed until my child had all his teeth. And I know that's like really taboo, but, you know, you have to kind of go with what, you know, what you feel is right for you and your baby.
I'm glad that you said that about the cleansing while you're pregnant and breastfeeding, because I feel like, I know when I would talk to people, they would say the herbs will be too strong. I mean a lot of people that I really admire, they say, you know, don't cleanse when you're pregnant or breastfeeding. And then it's like, okay, well then if you have something inside of you, you just pass it to them because you don't want to cleanse. And I'm a big believer of when you're pregnant, you know, the placenta is there as a filter. And when you're breastfeeding, you have the glands in there that's going to be the filter. So the baby is going to get the best of whatever is there anyway. So I'm just really glad that you said that, and I'm a big component of that, the clays. Like, the clays are just really good.
Yes, the clay is very powerful.
I think that you should really, I mean, that was a really powerful story that I've never heard anything like that, for someone to just defy the odds like that, because a lot of people who get those diagnoses, you know what the recommendation in the medical field is? Hysterectomy.
Exactly. And that's what was suggested that I need. No, he didn't say that I would need a partial hysterectomy if I didn't get, I don't know if it was, they wanted to do a biopsy. I think they did something where they took a piece of, like, mind you, I'm 21. I'm very, very young at this age.
You said you're 21?
I was 21 at that
time
when this was happening. So I can't remember, but I remember them taking a chunk of something out of there. I think it was just a test. But see, back then I was so ignorant and naive. And when I say ignorant, I mean I ignored my body. I ignored, you know, that intuition to let me know, like, this isn't right. Your lifestyle isn't right, but I didn't know. So even with all of that, even with the pain during the cycle, even the pain during sex and intimacy, it was just, I just ignored it. You know what I'm saying? Even with the yeast infections, I would still pull my panties up and just like, okay, you know, however, just eat some yogurt or whatever, you know, and really not know. But that's where we are today. It's like these industries are profiting big time off of women's ignorance, instead of saying, well, this is the cause, or this is the root, or this could be the cause and the root. Like, okay, well, take this medication, or give me your womb. Let me test it. Let me experiment on it. You know, even I remember when I was 15, they were giving out, they were testing women for bone marrow, young girls, my peers at 15, 14, 15. You know, doing all these tests on their wombs and giving them all these shots for, was it HPV? HPV shots. And all of this stuff, just treating us like guinea pigs. And it's because we don't know. It's that disconnect from, you know, the whole, the know thyself.
I have never in my life, I'm not old, but I'm not like in my 20s or anything, but I have never in my life experienced so many black women that have issues with fertility. What do you think are like the 3 top reasons that we have this I want to say a crisis, really, because a lot of women are having problems with having babies.
Right. What I've narrowed it down to, and I can't even say I've narrowed it down because this is an ongoing work, investigation, research. But what I've come to is that, as I mentioned, it's a spiritual disconnection, not being connected to the Most High within us, that the Creator in us, that which beats our heart, that presence, that allows us to blink and move, and that animates us without us even having to think about it. We're disconnected. We're disconnected from nature. If you look at, you can kind of tell the state of the women when you look at nature. You see how everything is kind of, being messed up. The sky, you can see the state of the world, and it's because we're disconnected from ourselves. So that's one, the spiritual foundation. Secondly, I would say our thoughts, how we think, and what we think about ourselves. And these are things that just habits that are passed down from our parents, our great-grandparents. I would also say that another part of it is carrying on, past your ancestors' pain. If your mother or your grandmother was somebody who, always reacted and was angry and fussing and cussing, so your mother picked that habit up. And then you find yourself picking that habit up, and then you realize, why am I always angry? Why am I always frustrated? Those create blockages. And that's what we're not taught, how energetically we create blockages, which creates the conception block. And I would say definitely the food. The food is like a weapon of mass destruction, literally. And I want to also throw in the food basket, not just what we consume, but what we put on our bodies, from the skincare lines, the cosmetic stuff, the lotions, the nail polish, our pads. I've been talking about that a lot lately. The pads, these things, they just launched. If I'm not mistaken, there was a new pad launched where you don't have to change this pad, and there's this technology strip inside the pad that is natural and it absorbs the blood and absorbs the odor. I don't know the science behind it, but someone just sent me a text message that says you need to see this, and said it was private. So I got to look at it when I get some time today. But today they just launched a new pad that could change the world. They can literally knock Kotex and all of these brands, even the organic brands, off the shelves, because a lot of these things that we're putting on our body have chemicals that go through our skin. Like, once you put something on your skin, you got to know your skin is a breathing, living organ. So when you put something on your skin, it goes right through the blood. When it travels to the blood, it goes through your to your endocrine system. So that's your pituitary glands, your pineal gland, and all of these glands, they send signals to let your body know to either produce a certain amount of hormone or to store a certain amount of hormones or to store this particular hormone. So when we're putting all of these things on our bodies that disrupt the natural function and flow of your body, because it's intelligent, it works on its own perfectly, but it's what we put on our body and in our body that can throw it all off balance. And then our body is producing excessive amount of estrogen, which then can manifest as fibroids. Or if we're consuming meat and dairy, that, you got to remember that they pump these animals with hormones or hormonal chemicals that allows that animal to reproduce rapidly, so that it's pumping out a lot of eggs, or it's pumping out enough milk to serve these, people who drink cow's milk or eat cheese or, whatever. So when you're consuming these things, you're putting it in your body, and it disrupts your flow. It disrupts your endocrine system. So I would say the spiritual disconnection, not knowing who you are, not being able to tap into, heed to those whispers when your body is literally screaming. When you find yourself having a headache, you got to think, okay, what did I eat? If it's not something you ate, what are you thinking? Are you stressed about something that you cannot control? Mm-hmm. Are you dwelling in a place that is in the past? A lot of times we find ourselves stressed because we're too worried about what's going to happen. We can't change, we can't really change the outcome of something that happened in the past, and we're worried about something that happened in the future, or we're holding on to hurt and pain. That can create a disconnection. So to narrow it down, a spiritual disconnect, not really knowing our bodies and listening to our bodies, our habits, how we think, the things that we think, what we focus on, what we dwell on, and how we respond to certain things. Are we taking things personally? We got to remember, somebody can do something. It doesn't necessarily mean that they did it to you. It's something that they chose to do. So we got to learn to not take things so personally. And if you can change the outcome, change it. If not, then change your perception about it. That's really the thing, shifting our perception about how we respond. And definitely, I don't even want to downplay the food, but the food, the meat, the dairy, the eggs, the chicken, the fish, all of this stuff, the alcohol, the tobacco, all of these things really play a part in preventing conception, creating fertility blockages, reproductive ailments, drastically. And it's a cycle. Cause I can't say it's just these separate things. It's a holistic thing, because imagine this: if we really knew that we are the embodiment of the Creator, do you think the Creator would do anything to undermine itself? Do you think the Creator would put poison in its body? Nope. So we're in a place where we're making poor choices in terms of our food and what we put in our body, because we're responding or we're reacting to an emotion, or we're reacting to a habit obliviously. So it's a holistic thing. It's a joint effort. So when you begin to do the clearing and releasing the meat, dairy, chicken, egg, fish, sugar is a huge culprit. Sugar. When we begin to release these things from our bodies, then you elevate spiritually. You grow spiritually. Your perception shifts. Your awareness shifts. So it's a joint thing. But those are the top three things. It's the mental, physical, and spiritual disconnection or disalignment.
And what do you think about women using yoni eggs, period, or even yoni eggs for fertility?
The yoni eggs. Well, I would first say I have not used them myself. I haven't been called to.
I haven't either.
to do that. I would say, here's the thing. I'm trying to say this with as much tact as possible. We live in a world where instant gratification is glorified. Like, we thrive off of instant gratification. I will also say that we're in a time where things are speeding up. So there are tools that we can use in order to speed up our healing process. I would also say that this industry, the holistic industry, the wellness industry, pretty much governed by the same industry that operates the meat, dairy, egg, chicken, fish, alcohol, and tobacco industries, are governing the holistic wellness industry. So there are certain trends and things that they put on the market in order for us to buy into. Now, I'm not saying that the crystals don't aid in the healing process, but the healing starts with your mind. See, we get into a place where we begin to, again, displace our power and put our power in the hands of other people, or put our powers or misappropriate our ability to shift our minds to heal ourselves. So that can create a dependency, further sacrificing the experience of connecting with yourself. So say, for instance, if there's an egg or some herbs or some pearls or a crystal, whatever the case may be, and we say, oh, the crystal healed me. Mm-hmm. What if the crystal disappeared or the crystal stopped working, then what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. You still don't really know how to shift your mind and your perception and reconstruct your thinking in order to heal your body, because that's where the illness starts. Mm-hmm. The illness doesn't start with what you put in your mouth. It's not what you it starts in the mind first. So when we begin to recognize that and recall that all we need is our mind to heal, then all of these tools and things that we become dependent upon will not be necessary. I'm not saying that they don't help, but I'm saying that your mind is what will heal you. Mm-hmm. I don't suggest that my clients use yoni eggs. I've seen people who have, great stories with connecting to their wombs, releasing emotional trauma through that. But I think that the main part about it is your intent. If your intent is to heal, your intent is to be more feminine, then your passion and your desire to heal and be more feminine, it comes from your mind first, and that energy is infused in that crystal. I'm not saying that the crystals don't have healing properties, because our blood is liquid crystal. So these are a solid manifestation of crystals. But, that's my take on it. I can't say that I would never use them. I never say never, but I haven't been called to do that. My choice of healing and approaching wellness is through reconstructing the mind, connecting spiritually to that which beats my heart, and eliminating things from my lifestyle that go against my highest desire.
Yes, I'm thankful that, you said that. And I learned about the yoni eggs when I got certified in the yoni steam. I was like, what? What are y'all talking about, putting an egg inside of you? Right. I just didn't, I didn't know anything about it. I was so new to it, but everybody was just, raving over the benefits of it. And I just was never attracted to that for myself, but I get more calls about some yoni eggs more than anything, and so I just became affiliate and just sold it through my website. But, it's more of a, and this holistic, I guess what has now became a whole big brand when it's really just natural living. It's like it's trending. Right. People are just into whatever is trending. And I say, do whatever works for you, but I don't just jump on stuff just because it's what everybody does. Right. And so when people ask me about them, I'm like, I can tell you to go to this website, but I don't have any to sell. I don't have any, I don't have much to say about it, so I just always wanted to ask people their opinion now of all these different things that are trending. I know a lot of things do work, but some things are just trendy, and they say, it has an ancient history, but some stuff, is here today and gone tomorrow. Okay, so I also want to ask you about this other trendy thing that I have been asked about is the womb pearls, the detox pearls. Do you recommend using that for fertility or anything?
I just posted a video about a week ago about my experience with the pearls. Now, here's the thing with going briefly back to the eggs. I always say ask questions. So who's handling the egg? What's the egg polished with? Is it porous? If these, just ask questions. You know what I'm saying? What is the egg polished on? All of these things I'm just curious about. But I did try the pearls myself because I saw that women were releasing tissue or this mass. And at the time I'm spontaneous at times, and sometimes I use my intuition to guide me before I try things. So my only drawback with the pearls at the time was, well, how do you test to know and to determine that this mass here is a piece of endometriosis that was, or stagnant blood? Or how do you test to see if this was actually BV? Or how do you test to see if this is a fibroid? So without a pathologist on hand, then, you really don't know. So you're just kind of guessing and being hopeful. My personal experience, the first time when I tried the pearls, I was scared because, number one, there's something in you for 3 days. Your vagina is self-cleansing, so you're blocking it from releasing naturally cleansing itself. I tried them because I had the miscarriage. I tried them because I had a history of the womb illnesses or the womb issues. So I wanted to just kind of be sure that if there was something up there, I wanted to get it out. So upon removing the pearls, there was, I guess, what would be normal discharge or whatnot. And after that, I did my steam, my rinse, and I felt like I had a whole new vagina. It was interesting, but I don't know. I wouldn't suggest them. I would share the information and say, well, use discernment. These are things you may need to ask yourself before trying them, but this was my experience. Only reason why I would say I don't suggest them to my clients is because I'm not a pathologist. I don't know what that came out of me. I don't know if there was going to be a long-term effect on what it is that I did by using the herbs. I don't know who packed the herbs. I don't know where the product came from. So that's the thing. I would also say that there have been sisters who I've suggested. I didn't suggest them, but I've told them about it because they had womb issues, blocked tubes, endometriosis, and my only suggestion would be if you tried them, you have to change your diet as well. Otherwise, it's just counterproductive. Because that's usually, probably the cause of the womb issues. But would I try it again? Probably not. For the sake of, I understand that I can change my mind, the way I think. That's a really huge part of it, is really the mind is what changes. Like you said, there's a lot of trends. We want it fast. We want healing quickly. When it comes to fertility, there were some things that you could do internally to expedite the healing. But I just say use discernment. That's it. Use discernment. And if you are going to do the pearls, detox and don't go back to that which caused the issue. That's the thing, the yo-yoing, going back like, okay, I detox, now I'm good. Let me, get some fish, or I'm just going to eat baked fish instead. All of this stuff is just not good for the body, period. But the womb pearls, I can't really complain. But I wouldn't do it again because the body is magnificent. It's a genius, complex ecosystem that knows what to do by itself. Even with the herbs, like I deal with herbs, but I realize that we don't even need the herbs. The body, when you're in a place where there's blockage, there's you got fibroids, tumors, cysts, whatever it may be. This is the evidence. Your body is telling you, okay, we're trying to correct it. Okay, so either there's a mental shift that needs to happen, and you need to eliminate something from your diet. You really don't necessarily need to take in anything. But because we've become so dependent on external assistance or external, this whole savior mentality, we're looking at things and looking to things to heal us when it really starts from within.
Okay, and what do you say to women who have had their tubes? I'm trying to think if I've heard people saying, okay, let's just say, I'll just tell you both instances I've had people to say, okay, I've had my tubes tied and I want to have a baby again, or I've had them burned, I want to have a baby again. I know that there's different surgeries and stuff, and there's also miracles that happen where women get pregnant and they say, oh, the man knocked them untied or something like that. So, yeah. I mean, I've even heard of women getting pregnant on birth control and stuff, too. I just think that childbirth is such a miracle, and it's unexplained. We can try to explain it, but it's really a miracle. So what would you say to, or how do you deal with women who've gotten their tubes tied and want to have a baby again?
I would that's a really delicate. All of it is delicate, because my position is that we really need to get to a place where we are becoming whole, where we are doing the work within ourselves that we begin to fill the void, that emptiness we feel, where we feel like we need a partner, a husband, and most of all, a baby to just complete it. Even, women who are in certain careers, like, if I just get this job or I get this, I will be so happy. I think that we have really lost the position of really finding out who we are and being comfortable with that. Not to say our natural instinct as women is to give birth. That's, I believe, is natural. Some feminists would be like, well, that's not natural. It's their choice. But that's a natural instinct to desire to perpetuate and bring forth children. So I'm finding that sometimes it's not that women want to have a baby. It's really wanting to fill this void. It's just this emptiness, this yearning, this constant yearning, where it probably started, let's say, for example, one particular sister in childhood. Her father left her, and that was her everything, her love, her first true love. And so as she got older, she began to try to attract the attention of men, of young boys. And then it escalated to older men, and she may have gotten taken advantage of. And here she is constantly trying to search to fill this void with this void. She wants to be loved. She wants to be cared for. She wants to be, take care of someone, do all these things. But she's basically wanting to fill a void. And here she is now. She's married. She had, or maybe before she got married, she conceived and had 2 children from one man, got divorced, and now she's with this man of her dreams. Now she wants to give him a child, but her tubes are tied. So I really want to encourage women to get to a place where you really have a connection with, and I don't like to use the word God usually, but God, the Creator, the Most High, whatever you call your higher power. Because no matter how much your husband may shower you with love, no matter how many children you may have, I'm finding that a lot of women are coming to me who are still not satisfied. They are still unhappy. And it's this void that they're trying to fill with a husband, with their partner. They have these unrealistic expectations of their partners and of their children to love them, to make them happy. And then they get to a place where even the woman who wanted to have a baby so bad, now she has a child, and she's like, something's missing. What's missing is that solid foundation, that spiritual foundation. What would I say for a woman who is wanting to conceive, she has her tubes tied? If you really want to have a baby, if that is it, then if you choose to go through the procedure, I strongly suggest to prepare for that. Prepare for pregnancy. that's one of the most sacred, precious gifts we as mothers can give our children, because it's a journey that's written, but we can edit it along the way. It's one that requires for us to really be prepared spiritually to guide these children, because remember, we're welcoming souls into our bodies, and these whole new souls come out pure. These children, they're pure in heart. So it's our duty and obligation as mothers to purify ourselves, to get ourselves to a point where our thoughts, our deeds, and our actions are from a pure place, so that when we call forth this child to come to our body, when you're laying down and you're wanting to get pregnant, you're having sex with your husband, and you hoping that this is the time, when you're in that space, when you call forth that spirit and it sparks, or that soul, and you spark and you conceive, you want to make sure that you're in the right mind and the right heart space, that you call forth that which you really, truly desire. And you are prepared to carry this child, and when it's time to bring that child through your portal, you intuitively know when to breathe, when to squat. All of these things is like this innate wisdom that comes through you. And if you're not aware of it, then you may panic, your body may lock up. This is where the issues come into play. And then here comes the doctor, so the rest of you trying to poke you and plug the water and bust the bag and cut you open and rush you to get a C-section. And, all of these, this is where the issues come into play, because we're so disconnected. So I encourage women, if you had your tubes tied, then that to me is an indication that if you tied your tubes, which is something that is not natural for us to do, then you really want to get to a place where you want to know who you truly are, because you want to make sure that you're making the best decision for your body and your baby going forward, because this is the time to do so. The time that you don't have any children, to plan and prepare for that. I get a lot of women who are just, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I want to ask you about birth control, but yeah, finish your story.
No, I was going to say the sorrow in this whole, what I'm noticing is, and maybe my mindset is different, my perception is different from the whole fertility industry, because it's like the trends, the 2-week wait trends, the constantly taking pregnancy test trends, the constant ovulation test trends. I'm like, listen, these things are creating blockages for you. Just imagine you're getting yourself all worked up. You already had a miscarriage. You're getting yourself all worked up within this 2-week span when your body is supposed to be resting and receiving. Your baby's supposed to be, the egg is supposed to be traveling with the sperm, and it's supposed to be growing within you. Here you are stressed and anxious in your body, and you're creating these blockages. So my thing is to really get to a place where you're in tune with your body. You're really loving yourself, and you're tapped into yourself to a point where you can intuitively make that decision to say, okay, this is the procedure that I want to experience, and I'm going to bring forth this child. Make a declaration of what type of child you want to bring forth. What kind of soul, how is your child going to be an asset to you and your family? Even if your tubes aren't tied, if you are preparing for pregnancy. These are things, this is the rites of passage, the passageway. What's your relationship with your partner? That's another thing. We from the get-go, we jump into relationships and trying to fill this void, and we're at odds with each other. It's like a house divided against itself. So sometimes I meet women who are wanting to have babies and get pregnant, but the husband is just like nonchalant, like, yeah, I guess so. I'm like, you can't. You really expect to bring a child forth through this man who really don't desire the same thing that you desire. So we really have to create a sacred bond or a sacred space within ourselves where we know who we are and we're one within ourselves. And then we partner with our husband and we say, okay, well, this is what I want, and you two are on the same page, so that when you do come together, when you're not ready to conceive, that's the conversation that we're having. When you are ready to conceive, you cultivate and create that sacred space so that you two are bringing forth the spirit or the soul that you want to bring forth. If you say, I want to bring forth a prophet, or the child that I want to bring forth is going to be one who is going to be an herbalist or a change maker or whatever the case may be, But we have to get to a place where we're intentional. So go ahead with the question about the birth control.
Yes, I wanted to know what do you recommend as far as like natural birth control? How would someone, if they don't want to get their tubes tied, how would they, they don't want to get pregnant?
I'm experimenting right now.
Yeah.
I'm experimenting, and it's kind of hard to say. Only thing I can't really suggest just yet. I'm experimenting with different herbs from over in the motherland in Zimbabwe and also in the Caribbean. But I think, I had this conversation the day before yesterday about how when we're intentional and when we're coming together with our husbands, and it's like a woman, we have to recognize our magnetism and our power, or the power that power of magnetism. From my experience, we call forth our children. Whenever we got pregnant, there was something subconsciously that wanted to conceive, because you got to understand the man is the plug and we are like the socket. So we're magnetic. We're pulling his seed to us because that's something that we truly desire. So we have to get to a place where we're intentional, where we're disciplined in our thoughts, we're disciplined in our actions. And I'm not saying that a woman purposely gets pregnant, but kind of sort of, yeah. It's like, the women, I think you know what I'm talking about. Like a woman knows when he's about to release, or that point when he can release. And I'm not negating or not saying that the brother don't know or he's not responsible, because he's held accountable. But there's this magnetism that we have. It could be, it's kind of hard to explain on a physical, but this magnetism that we have, innately we will pull that seed from that man and conceive. Whether we consciously say we want to have a baby right now or not, we pull that from our husband. This is why a lot of women who are dealing with fertility blocks, I'm saying we have to generate our magnetism. The women who are wanting to conceive and having fertility issues and don't have any reproductive issues, it's a magnetism or a disconnect there. It's like the connection is a little weak. That's all. But I would say, again, it starts with the mind. When herbs that would be safe to use, just for the sake of, not, crossing lines or getting in any trouble or anything. I can't really suggest them yet until I know for a fact that it
works.
That they work, and not just that they work, because it's kind of just a trial and error, just like anything that we do. But just if they're legal to use and if they would be safe, because right now the only one I would use is Caribbean or Guinea henweed. And for me, I've used it to kind of clean out. Some have used it for if you think you're pregnant and you don't want to conceive, then right after copulation, after sex, then you might want to have some Guinea henweed.
What is it? Guinea hen? How do you spell that?
Guinea henweed, I think it's G. Don't quote me here. I'm not the spelling bee champ. I think it's GUINEA. Hen, HEN, weed, WEED. So, but some people say the pull-out method don't work, but I mean, hop off.
Okay.
Hop off.
Okay, so let me open up the lines again and see if anybody has any questions. Okay, the lines are open now.
Okay, yes, I do. I'm sorry. I was trying to get my phone off mute. I am so sorry.
I thought I heard something coming from this number, but it was showing the volume, but I was like, I don't hear anything. Okay, yes. What's your question?
Okay, before I do that, the Guinea hen weed is a staple in my home, and it does help with cleansing, so it does make sense that you use it Solacericid, and Soursop leaf. So we do have those in our home. So it's very good you brought that up. I love it. I love that you brought that up. But my question is, have you guys known to have, or have you guys seen a link between decrease in iron and infertility? Like the person is recommended to take like Geritol, Triple S tonic, or something like that to increase their iron to get pregnant?
I'm going to let you ask that, Sister Angelique, but I do, since you mentioned Geritol, I remember before I even got into this, I was probably like 19 years old, and I was working with some older women, and one older woman was saying she was having problems conceiving, and another sister who was older too told her, when I say older, I guess I'm meaning like in your 40s, even though that's not old to have children. But nowadays they try to say that after you're 35, you're advanced age. But they had recommended Geritol for her and it worked. And I just kind of feel like it could be a lack of nutrients and stuff, and that could hinder your fertility. But okay, Sister Angelique, what's your answer to that?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. It's not just an isolated mineral or metal. I think that it's a holistic. I hate to just throw this word out, but it's lack of minerals, lack of poor nutrition, and yes, iron. I think it's dealing with the blood, the quality of the blood. Mm-hmm. So if you are consuming things that are not good for the body and your blood is toxic, then it's imperative to clean the blood out, purify the blood, and then put in these minerals, the magnesium, the iron, the folic acid, all of these things are, all of these things that we need. We're not getting enough of it, so that's why the supplements come into play. Because even when you are taking the supplements and you're eating healthy, if your blood is laden with all of these toxins and things, then it's hard for your body to absorb the nutrients and the minerals. So I suggest I dealt with iron issues. So when I do an array of things. There's not one set of things I do, but definitely cleaning out the blood can help for better mineral absorption. But I think that it's not just an iron thing. Just like they say for vegans, they say, well, vegans, it's not healthy to be vegan, especially if you're breastfeeding or pregnant, because you're missing, I think, B12 and omega something. But if B12 and this particular omega is only present in animal products, then is it really that deficient in it, and it's causing an imbalance, or are you just saying I'm deficient in it because I don't eat the meat? Does that make sense? So it's not really a deficiency per se. It's more so this particular B vitamin is not present in my diet because I don't eat meat. It's not the cause of my infertility. So we have to be mindful that every day we're facilitating our body in cleansing. So whether it's drinking the clay water, doing the enema, drinking your colon cleanse herbs, and then drinking the lime water to flush your system, so you're moving your bowels, drinking the blood purifying teas. And then when you do consume solid foods, every day we drink a smoothie that has Irish moss in it, the natural wild-crafted Irish moss, the baobab, the moringa. I do the maca root, my soursop tea, my hibiscus tea, and my red raspberry tea. Right now I'm not preparing for pregnancy, but when I am in a position to conceive and I'm ready, I will be prepared. So this is what I do every day just to keep my health going. So I'm replenishing the minerals every day in my body. I'm cleansing out every day. And then seasonally, like right now we're moving into the spring equinox. So it's an ideal time to clean out, especially during the winter time. But right now, when you're going to have the allergies and the hay fever and all of this stuff that comes up around this time, it's ideal to really detox the body and cleanse and, make sure you're taking in your minerals every day across the board. We have like over 102 minerals in the body, and we don't get enough through our food.
And that you're going to need that iron to help build the baby, because your body's going to need that extra blood to build straw. I did like the powder, the oat straw. I think that's good for iron. Oh, and nettles. Nettle. That's
what it was. Nettle tea. I'm like, nettle, stingy nettle. Right.
Yeah. That's what's really good. And probably that person, if you got a low iron, probably bleeding for a long time too on your cycle.
Yep.
So it's a lot of different ways to shorten that cycle. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you so much.
You have anything else?
I just wanted to also ask about, I know that we're discussing the womb and all this, but have you guys ever addressed, maybe I missed a call, I'm not sure, but the only reason I'm asking because I address this in real life in my work, but have you ever addressed women who are pregnant who are struggling mentally? Like, especially women that have been on psychiatric medications or other types of holistic methods to remain mentally stable, and they get pregnant and the hormones are out of whack. How do we bring them into balance while they're pregnant?
Okay, Angelique.
I haven't dealt with anyone myself. A personal, I haven't dealt with that. I know for me, I personally went through a lot of emotional imbalances, and I would attribute that to the cleanse. So this is why preparing prior to conceiving is so essential, because when you're cleansing, for me, when I was cleansing, and like you said, the hormonal imbalances, there are a lot of things that come to the surface. So in the past, when I was chose to suppress my emotions through food or certain comfort food, I no longer had, or I'm not going to say I didn't have the option, but I no longer gave myself the option to suppress my emotions with certain foods or alcohol. So I had to deal with these emotions, and not knowing how to deal with the emotions, how to manage the things that came up for me, it made me very depressed, and mentally it threw me off. Emotionally, it threw me for a loop. I would say women who are currently pregnant and dealing with mental imbalances or emotional imbalances, hormonal imbalances. That's a really tough one, because it's on an individual basis. It will be different. I think radical self-care and helps really nourishing yourself and making the choices. And it's hard, because when you're in it, when you're in the center, in that space of you're depressed or you're upset and you're just not feeling right, nothing seems right, you're unhappy, then it's hard to make choices. But you really got to really have a strong desire to do better. That's the only thing I can think of, because I'm saying this only because I went through it. And, you really have to have a strong desire to shift. I would say different herbal baths that are safe, walking barefoot in nature. For me, that helped tremendously. Being by water, out visiting the ocean, really allowing yourself to move through the emotions, journaling, write them down, video journaling, kind of going through a meditation or a space where you can go back to what is this pain that I'm feeling? Ask yourself, what am I feeling? Do I want to feel this way? How do I want to feel? And can I do something about that right now? Like, what can I focus on? So it's really a reconstruction of the mind
I've had and I tell women too, when you're pregnant, like the preparation for pregnancy is really big, because when you're pregnant, it's like everything comes to the surface. And another thing, aside from just any type of other mental health issues, red raspberry tea will calm you down. The sea moss, because you want to make sure that the mother is not getting, make sure they're getting all the nutrients and vitamins that they need, and eating good. Not going through the drive-through, not drinking the soda. If you want that, cake or whatever, forbidden, whatever it is, okay, if you have to go ahead and do it, but get back on the straight and narrow. So that's some things physically that you can do, but people have to address the issues. They have to address the traumatic issue. And what I do is, like Angelique said, taking those baths. Taking those sea salt baths, these are external things that can really help your mental clarity. I'm telling you, if I soak in the tub for like 40 minutes, when I get out, I feel like a new person. That's, you have to constantly, and when you soak, you're cleansing your aura. So you have to constantly, it's a fight, it's a battle every day to make sure when you're dealing with psychiatric issues or mental issues, to make sure that you got to stay on top. You're carrying a baby, and that's very, very serious. Journaling, I'm a big writer. I got notepads. I write all the time. We got to get this book out, but like writing all the time, that stuff that can help your mental health. Staying away from negative people, not looking at negative TV shows, not listen to negative music. Listen to music that raise your vibration. I'm big on the Om. Sometimes when I'm feeling whatever, anxious or whatever, I'll just go Om. So that's something. It may be sounding a little weird to some people who are not into, I guess you can say, natural holistic healing, but this is mental health is very serious to me, very dear to me, and very close to my heart. And I do not play when it comes to, not taking care of your mind. I'm all for the eating healthy, the exercise and the yoga, but we definitely have to do different things to stay sane. You have to address, and I tell women when I'm doing my doula appointments, go ahead and address those issues that you have with your mom before labor, because all of those issues, they can sometimes complicate the whole pregnancy and the whole labor.
Thank you so much. I was just wondering, because we never really had a call where we will address mental health during the pregnancy.
Yeah. I really have been wanting to go really deep into that. And now that you said that, I'm going to create something like that. Next week we have another guest on, but I really do want to just talk about it in general. It doesn't. I'm so thankful that you asked that question, but we also want to, just look at a lot of different things, and they have to, if it's 5 different things that they do every single day just to take care of their mental health, they have to, write it down and commit to it, because it's very important.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So, I want to see if anybody else have any questions. Your line is unmuted.
I had a question going back to when you were talking about how sort of the industry can create a hype and a buzz around certain fads like the yoni egg and crystals and things like that. And with that being said, I'm just wondering how do you do your own research to find actual herbs and teas and things like that aren't a gimmick as opposed to real, you know what I mean?
Okay. Do you have any suggestions, Angelique?
And I'm being repetitive because it's essential for us to really get to a place where you all have heard of psychics, right? I don't even like using the word psychic. Mm-hmm. But these are people who are, or what do you call them, intuitive. They're able to tap in into their higher source and get yes or no answers. They get confirmation, and we can too. So when you're when you're in a place where you're wanting to figure out, well, is this really right for me? Is this the path that I should go? We should really be in a place where we're asking ourselves, we're asking the Most High or the Creator, whoever your higher source is this the best decision for me? And when you have a connection to God that way, you'll be able to know the signs. For example, you have a yes and no question. You may even hear the say, well, is guinea hen weed the best choice for me to prevent pregnancy? You may feel a tingling sensation. For me, I will hear a yes or no in my mind. It's like this first voice. So some people use pendulums. Again, I don't suggest it because it takes us away from building up our own intuitive power. So it takes us away from connecting to God, where we begin to drown out that voice or move further and further away from the voice, and then we begin to become dependent on these external things. So that's the first thing I would say. Really create a communion, whether it's meditation or you take time before everybody else wakes up in the house. Even if I'm not a morning person, but I will wake up or make time. I might go in the back of the woods just to clear my mind out before I deal with the world, because we have to make sure that we are just like you put on a GPS before you go to a place that you're unfamiliar with. We have to, we're dealing with our internal GPS, dealing with God within us and saying, okay, I'm spending time. I need to hear your voice. What do I need to do today? Show me a sign, because we're always getting signs. So this is how you increase your intuition. You may notice a certain bird or a certain animal. You may notice deer. You may have a particular dream or whatever. Maybe somebody may say, yeah, red raspberry is good. Or you may overhear someone else saying red raspberry. These are all signs to give you confirmation that this is the right path. What you can begin to do is, in terms of research, kind of go, Google is like the go-to place, right? But just look, I always look up, what do you call it? The opposition first. So let's say it's guinea hen weed. You may have something that comes up on guinea hen weed that says, don't use this could cause X, Y, and Z. You may have, like a sister on the line. A lot of people don't really talk about guinea hen weed. I don't hear anybody discussing it. So if I go to the islands and talk to my sisters from the islands, they know about it. Then they'll give a whole testimonial, and they have ancient wisdom on this herb versus going on Google and Google telling you, stay away from it. Or maybe Google may tell you, this might be beneficial for you. Again, you only know what's really good for you when you tap into your body and say, okay, this is the path that we need to take. You become your own healer through your practice, through practicing on yourself first. I would suggest, if you are wanting to do a cleanse, keeping it basic, where you're increasing your water. Tea or clay is common to cleanse out. I wouldn't necessarily try to buy something in a bottle that somebody made up right away, because, again, you don't really know what they're putting in it. Something you don't know. But that's where we really need to get to a place where we're becoming more intuitive. And it's not something that is isolated for the psychic or the clairvoyant person. We all have the ability to communicate with God.
Okay, so the sister who just asked the questions, are you like inquiring about something new, or you just want to know generally, like when you hear about stuff, is it good or not?
I'm still working on me, so I'm just reading and researching it all. But it's just like you'll come across so many different things, and this site or person selling this and this counteracting this, and I don't know. I get what she's saying. You just need to be more aware and look for yourself to kind of figure out what's right for you.
And look for the elders. I try to look for the elders in the community, and also, definitely trusting your intuition. And what works for somebody else is not going to work for you. Oh, okay. Yeah, so, following people like Angelique, different people that you look up to and you admire, just seeing what they suggest, and then, going to Google. And then I go to, like, different websites because, it'll be one website that say that this herb is good and then the other one say it's bad. A lot of times when I'm not going to say a lot of times, some of the times when they say it's bad, it's because it actually works and it cures things.
Right.
Right,
like the cannabis.
What'd you say?
I said just like the cannabis, but, now they're tainting that plant, so it's really...
where it's grown, it's got that's a whole different... That's
right.
a whole big thing. That's why I can't even recommend you if you where to get it, because even the people that grow it, they're going to be so secretive.
Exactly.
So you got to be like with some real farmers, some real herbalists that are organic. Because there's people that do grow it, but they can't say anything. So, I would, because I would just research different things, Google different things, and really testing to see. And if you want to try something, try it smallest, but I try to look for stuff that's ancient and stuff that's in the islands, things that are in the continent, like the yoni steam. I swear by that. But it's new to people over here in the West, but it's been going on. But they make it real big and complicated and get a certification and all of that stuff. But it's something ancient that's been going on for a long time, and they still do it over there. I look at people who don't have the diseases that we have over here and look at the way that they're doing things. Like people in the continent, they're not. I'm going to try to, so you can kind of judge it like that and going with your intuition. The same with the yoni eggs. And I wasn't drawn to it. I'm not knocking it. It's just not for me.
And I wanted to add another thing. We're so out of order, and it's this way because it benefits the industry. It's profitable. You know what I'm saying? It's very profitable. So like you look at the wellness industry with exercise. Like you mentioned, you look at the other countries. Are they working out? Are they wearing bras? You know what I'm saying? Now they're building fast food restaurants and stuff like that out there. But are they really working out? Like I can't remember what elder he said, Phil Valentine. He basically was speaking about the history of aerobics and how it was a military. It started in the military or something like that. Don't quote me. But he made a statement like, you wouldn't go to the grocery store and shake a carton of eggs. But here you are running and jumping and pounding with your delicate womb part. So everything that I want to say, we don't have culture here. There's no rites of passage. There's no passageway to prepare us and say, this is the path you should take as a young woman when you're having, arousal, when you're attracted to the opposite sex. This is how you conduct yourself. Your body is sacred. It's honorable. These are, all of these rites of passage things. And how do you prepare to be a mother? How do you do, all of these things? We're out of alignment. So you have this whole society that is shaped and conditioned for us to be out of sync with nature. We, most of everything that we do is unnatural. What we do to our hair is unnatural. What we put on our skin is unnatural. What we put in our mouth is unnatural. The high heels that we walk in, and I'm a culprit. I got some heels that I need to donate because I don't wear them no more. But from the material that we put on our bodies, shoes we put on our feet, when we pop up to an alarm every day, so many things are out of alignment. So my thing, I'm encouraging women to really get back in alignment. And I also wanted to mention that over the years of dealing with the mental disconnection that I was dealing with, the mental health stuff, and the spiritual disconnection, because, as above, so below. So if my womb is toxic, then it's highly likely that my mind is imbalanced, right? So what has helped me over time was I'm not pushing religion. Just to preface this, I'm not pushing religion. But the book Matthew, John, and Revelation has helped me tremendously in activating certain things within my DNA that have allowed me to tap into who I am without having to do certain external things in order to activate this, if that makes any sense. The words that are written and read, that and whether you refer to as Yahshua or Jesus, or however, the words that are written, it really empowers and reprograms the mind in such a way that you become enlightened, you become aware. Certain things begin to shift, or at least for me and the sisters that I've been working with who are looking at these texts differently. Not from a religion standpoint, but knowing that these texts have different facets of it. From a metaphysical standpoint, some people say astrological, allegorical, moral text, but reading Matthew, John, and Revelation as back in I don't know if it's the early 2000s or the 90s, and it's a really popular movie. It's called The Matrix, and it was written by a sister. Her name is Sophia Stewart, but the movie was stolen. Her book was stolen, and from some big-time movie producers. And what they did was they stole her book, created a movie, and it was I think it was $1 billion movie. It was a big hit. But in the movie, to be brief, it basically showed that a lot of us are asleep. We're unaware. So in the movie, there was this brother who was referred to as Morpheus, and he came and he woke up a brother named Neo, who was just basically a computer tech and just minding his own business, living his life, and he introduced him to a whole nother frame of consciousness and awareness. Speed it up. Just watch the movie. You'll see what I'm saying. Speed it up to Sophia Stewart, who is the writer of this book. She has written the book called The Matrix 4, and I think the book is called, it's in my purse somewhere, Conscious Evolution, or The Evolution of Consciousness. And in the book, it's really deep. The movie The Matrix is based off of the book of Revelations. Mm-hmm. And her book, the recent one that she's released, it basically shows us how to activate that quote unquote Christ consciousness, how to elevate and purify our minds so that we're ready and we're prepared to make the shift that this planet is shifting to. So there's no coincidence that you're here on the line right now. Whomever is here, whether it's 2 people, 3 people, 10, 20, 30, if you're here right now, there is no coincidence that you're here. Your soul is calling for you to take that next step, whatever it may be. But it's going to require for you to really get still and ask. Like in the Bible says, you ask, seek, knock, and it shall be given unto you. You have to ask for clarity. Ask, who am I? What am I here to do? What is the next best step that I need to take in order to know? If I don't know, make me aware. Humble me. Mm-hmm. Keep me when I am aware. Because sometimes when we wake up and we see things, it can kind of knock you down and put you in a place where you're like, what? But be grateful. Always be in gratitude that you are aware now and that you have the opportunity to choose. I also want to mention another book, again, not pushing religion, just strictly speaking on the works and the demonstrations that these books talk about, but it's called The Holy Quran Circle 7. I think it's Moorish Holy Temple of Science book. It's a little pamphlet that was written by a brother named Noble Prophet Juali. And in the book, it talks about Jesus' walk and his demonstration. But what I really love about this pamphlet, because it's really thin, but when you get it, literally, you will probably be on the same chapter for the next 3 months because it's so deep and in depth. It shows you how we can become godlike or like Christ or like how Jesus demonstrated. They said, well, I try not to get into the whole semantics about the name and all this other stuff. I look at the walks. I look at the teaching. And what it's teaching us is to purify ourselves, purify our thoughts, purify our actions, purify our bodies so that we can become more godlike. And really be in a place where we just know. You just know. So I strongly suggest, and this is a suggestion that I'm making, just with an open mind, read Matthew, John, and Revelation. And if you can get your hands on the Circle 7 Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple, read it, and you'll see exactly what I'm saying. It's basically a book that teaches you about your spirit, your soul, what you're here to do. As women, as mothers, we are to be teaching our children that man and God are one. We are one and the same. There's no separation. But through our thoughts, our actions, and our deeds, we separate ourselves from that higher power. So that's one of the reasons why I strongly suggest this, because it kind of reminds you and puts you in a place where you kind of have a different perspective of how all of this came about and what you're really here to do and what's going to require for you if you're ready to elevate. I mean, it's degrees and levels to unfoldment. But, yeah, that's something I wanted to make a statement about.
And we're about to wrap up the call. Any last-minute questions here for Sister Angelique? Okay, so CraftsWombman.com. That's CRAF as in Frank, T as in Tom, S as in Sam, WOMB as in boy, MAN. CraftsWombman.com.
Moment, but really just supporting women and doing consultations.
Okay, that's good to know, and we thank you all for listening. Thank you all for calling and, staying to the end and listening to everything. Like I said, just call back for calling in. Your work is very needed. It's very valuable, and that's why I have these calls. I just want to let everybody else know about all these basically jewels that we have in our community, and we need to utilize these sisters and call them up. Let them be your second, third, and fourth, fifth opinions, because she just told us about basically a miracle, and I learned a lot and, confirmed a lot of different things. So this has been a very informative, valuable call. Thank you all for asking questions. I really like when people ask questions, and it's not too much. You can have 2 and 3, questions. We just want to make sure that you get clarity on this call. Your time is valuable, so we want to make sure that you get something out of it. So thank you, sisters, for calling in, and please share this.
Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let us know, what did you think about this video?